your family, your loved ones, your neighbors, relatives, whoever the case may be, has an emergency and they need to get something from the Social Security Administration, you'd be amazed at how many times it happens. Actually, it happened yesterday. I got a YouTube comment in there. Someone needs to take care of their brother, so I'll talk about that and give her and everybody a little bit more information on what you can do, what you should do in particular situations like that, in case disability, terminal illness, you're missing a check, you lose your health insurance, you need money, whatever the case may be. I'm going to give you all the inside tips, tricks, and secrets on how to address that. For all you new users, all you new viewers, who the heck am I? My name is Ed Weir. I ran the third busiest Social Security office in the country, and I've helped millions of people with all things Social Security, retirement, survivor benefits, spouse benefits, Medicare, Medicaid, all the rest of it. So let's talk about this. Let's go down the list. And specifically, the reason I'm doing this video is because yesterday I got this message and said, my brother is currently in the hospital with laryngeal cancer. He needs to apply for SSDI ASAP. I tried to get help for him through the social workers, but to no avail. He's unable to speak to a recent tracheotomy. And what can I do for him? I believe he'll qualify for a compassionate allowance. Okay. Someone put in there, are you the power of attorney? Social Security doesn't recognize power of attorney. You might need a power of attorney for some other reason, but in terms of Social Security, because a power of attorney is when someone has the ability, mind, physical, ability to give someone else a power of attorney. So Social Security says that, hey, if you're able to do that, if you're of sound mind and body and you're able to do that, then you're able to take care of your own benefits. So Social Security doesn't really recognize power of attorney in that respect. What you're looking for is the representative payee. So that's kind of what you're looking for. So yes, you can be the representative payee for your brother. And number one, thank you for taking care of your family like that. We all appreciate it. So I'm sure he appreciates it even more. So you can file on his behalf. And it looks as though you tried to reach out to social workers. And there was actually another district manager, a Social Security district manager, that also went in there and commented about, the social workers and stuff. So whoever that other district manager is that went in there and tried to help out this lady, you are awesome. We appreciate it. This is a community here. We're looking out for each other. But yeah, usually the hospital social workers, they're good at doing that, but it depends on what hospital you are. If you're out in the country or something like that, or they're overwhelmed, or they're just not able to do it, then they're not able to do it. But luckily, in your particular case, in your brother's case, you are there and able to do it. So there's a few ways you can do it. You can call the Social Security Administration, set up an appointment, and tell them, this is a critical case and that you need to be seen immediately. You can't wait for a month or 2 months. All offices are understaffed, and so that's 50-year low, but now it's even worse. Or you can go ahead and file online for him, and then what you do is you file the claim, and then you put that you're the representative payee. Part of the claims path online on a disability claim, you can put, are you the actual number holder, the actual claimant? No, I'm the representative payee, and they'll address that at that time. You mentioned compassionate allowance, and so there's to expedite disability claims. There's a few different ways. You mentioned the good one, the compassion allowance, and then there's called a Terry, and then there's another one I forgot to add up there. It's called wounded warrior. People that veterans, active duty military that have wounded warriors, wounded in the line of battle. But compassion allowance, that is kind of an algorithm that the Social Security has had around for a while, that it flags particular conditions, specific diseases and conditions. And as of 2025, there's about 280 conditions. So, progressive cancer, Lou Gehrig's disease, advanced Alzheimer's, and about 280 of these different conditions that if people put those in as their disabling condition, why they're not able to work, then the Social Security Administration, the system flags that and expedites those. In the old days, before all of the staff cutbacks, then you could probably get an approval in a few weeks, less than a month. Then there's the Terry case. Those are terminal illness cases. So look, it's a good thing your brother is not, category on that one. So that's a good one. But for those people out there, those are terminal illness. And I've taken Terry cases in the morning. And by the time I left the office that night, they were approved. Or I came in the next day and they were approved. So Terry cases are, you hear all these internet myths. So I want to take this public service announcement to stop people out there with these internet myths about I don't have any sound on my TikTok here, so sorry. Let me see if I can get this fixed. I'm gonna have to stop that one anyway. So in order to let me get out of here. So the internet myth about the whole thing, that everybody is denied for disability the first time, is 100% an internet myth. We need to stop repeating that, because what happens is people that are actually disabled, that need the money, that's their money. They earned it, that, they paid into the system, and they're going through their disabling conditions and they have financial difficulties and all the rest of it. And then they hear this myth out there that everybody's denied the first time, and that, they just say, well, I can't go through that. So they don't file. So stop that, please. I've taken hundreds of thousands of claims that are approved the first time, again, some the same day, the next week. If you're just regular, not a Terry case or compassionate allowance, yes, it does take forever. There are some cases that are denied that should have been denied the first time, that should have not have been denied. There are some cases, I'm not a medical doctor, but I was like, wow, that one was approved. I would have never thought that, but I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't second guess that one. So let's stop that myth out there. So yes, so the person out there taking care of their brother, you can file on your case as a representative payee. You can do it online. You can call over the phone and tell them, here's the situation. we need to get this process started immediately, if not sooner. Or you can call your politician, your senator, congressperson, representative, and say, hey, here's my brother's situation. I'm trying to get in the office. I call Social Security to set up an appointment, and I sit on the phone for 3 or 4 hours. And why aren't you supporting our local Social Security office? All politics are local. Say, forget about the rest of the country. Hey, Senator, how come the office, Social Security office right down the street from you, sometimes in the same building, there's a 3-hour wait and 4-hour wait. I have to wait 2 months to get an appointment. What are you doing? Or what are you not doing? So it's a good opportunity to reach out there and try to get better customer service you paid for, we paid for. All right. So social workers, yes, doesn't sound like they're helping you out. You can definitely do it yourself, and make sure you tell them about the compassionate allowance, and hopefully your brother's category fits in one of those 280 or so compassionate allowance in there. But there is a 5-month waiting period. I got another question up here. I got a whole bunch. This is also a live Q&A. So once I talk about this, so there, just coincidentally, Lee asked, I was approved for SSDI and survivor benefits with onset date of 10/25. Why do I have to wait 5 months for survivor benefits payments along with disability? I'm 58. My first payment will be May 2nd. It sounds as though if you can't get survivor benefits until you're 60 years old. So if you were starting your survivor benefits, then there's no 5-month waiting period. But you are receiving survivor benefits based on disability. It's called DWIB, Disabled Widows Benefits, DWB, Disabled Widows Benefits. And because it is a disability claim, a disability benefit, yes, you still have to wait the 5 months. And her brother has to wait 5 months as well. Everybody has to wait 5 months. There's actually a bill in Congress. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but there's a bill in Congress to try to end that 5-month waiting period for disability. So hopefully that happens. Okay, so that's in terms of disability. Reach out, get your politician. anytime you have any type of an issue like that, you're having bad customer service, reach out to your politician. You go onto their website, and on their website, all federal politicians have a little button there that says, I need help with a federal agency. You click that button, you fill it out, you call their constituent services and tell them, hey, here's the deal. How come the customer service I paid for that you were supposed to give to Social Security for resources to hire people to update the system, how come you haven't given it to Social Security in the last 30 years, buddy? So anyway, all right. So the next one, Social Security emergency out there, which we used to see a lot and still see a lot today. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen even more going forward, but people missing their checks. Social Security hasn't missed a payment in 90 years. And, checks have gone out every single month for 90 years. And hopefully what the Doge bros are doing in the computer system, this computer system, yes, it needs to be updated, but yeah, they're trying kind of an expedited thing, and hopefully nothing breaks. But there are people that miss checks, in terms of their individual checks, if they get a paper check, it goes to the wrong place. If they get direct deposit, it goes to they gave the wrong routing number, they transposed the numbers, or they changed banks and the new bank didn't take, and then the old bank was closed. Whatever the case may be, happens all the time. So if you're missing your personal check, all checks went out, but sometimes people miss the checks. There's a few things you can do in that type of an emergency if you need money. So you can call Social Security, go down to the local office. Hopefully, local office is still open. And you can, if it's not an emergency type thing, you can just tell them, hey, I didn't get my check. Go ahead. If it's direct deposit, they will do a trace in Department of Treasury and they'll find out what happened to it. And they'll just re-push the direct deposit and usually get it in 1 or 2 days. If you need a check out of the office, you need a check now. You can't wait 1 or 2 days. Then you'll have to provide some type of proof, either eviction notice, 5-day quit, something that your electricity is being shut off, your heat is being shut off or something like that. And you have to provide that. And then the Social Security offices can do what's called an immediate payment, where they can actually cut you a check and you take that down to the bank and cash it. So Social Security offices, try to avoid that as much as possible because it is a big process. And so they want to find out what happened to the previous check and all the rest of it. And there are people that have, abused that system. And so they're put on a list that, hey, you've already done this 2 or 3 times and what's going on, so. If it was, Social Security's fault, then you're not on that list. But there's some people out there that I lost my check, and it's like, oh, what do you mean you lost your check? You lost it in the street, or you lost it at the slot machine? And usually it was lost at the slot machine. But anyway, but yeah, if you really, really need your check, they can definitely help you out in the local office. It's called immediate payment, but you have to provide some type of proof. What about loss of health insurance? So this is a big issue going on. People, if you're approaching 65 years old, then Medicare will start automatically if you're currently receiving benefits. If you're not receiving benefits and you're approaching 65 and you need to sign up for Medicare Part A and Part B, then you actually have to do it manually. You have to, call, schedule an appointment, go online, or whatever the case may be. But that's kind of a planned thing, so you shouldn't have an issue there. As long as you go through all the processes, you can reach out to my partners at Chapter, and they can help you out on that. But there are people that didn't sign up for Medicare when they turned 65, and because they didn't need to, because they were working. They had health insurance from current work, theirs or their spouses. Their employer had 20 or more employees, so they didn't have to sign up for Part B or Part A possibly. And now they're 70 years old, 75 years old, and they lose their job all of a sudden for whatever case. They get mad at their boss or their company shuts down or whatever the case may be. And they just lose their job today, and it's getting close to the end of the month, and their insurance is going to end at the end of the month, and they need their Medicare to start in 2 weeks. They need the Medicare to start tomorrow. And those are going to be difficult because of the low staffing in the Social Security offices, because you have low staffing in the Social Security office, you submit the forms. Ari and I from Chapter did a video on this. It explains this. It's called a special enrollment period, that the forms that you need, a 40B and a 564, to take down to your employer and prove that you did have health insurance from work and all that. But you get all that together, you provide it to Social Security, and crickets, because they just don't have the staff. It's in the office, but they don't have the staff to process it, and it takes a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months to process it, and during that time, you don't have any health insurance. So in those particular emergency situations, I would go exactly what I talked about, the disability. Go down there. Anytime you have that type, and if you need to go down to the office, anytime you have that type of emergency type situation, it depends on your particular office. Each office is run a little bit differently. But if you try to go in the office and the guard there, who is not a Social Security employee, they're contracted from Federal Protective Services. They're contracted guards, and you just tell them, hey, this is a dire need situation. I contacted my congressperson on this particular situation, so it became a congressional. You express, hey, they're going to show up. I'm being kicked out of my house. I'm losing my health insurance here in a week, and I need health insurance because I need my medication. I need to go see my doctors. I have a surgery coming up. And you just tell the guard that. And if it's a good guard, like we used to have in our office, hey, Mo, then moi moi, then big Samoan guy. Yeah. Nicest guy. Giant teddy bear. So anyway, but didn't look like it. Anyway, so hopefully they will say, oh, okay, and they'll take you directly to a window. They won't give you one of those little stupid ticket thingies, which were annoying. They'll take you right to a window, and hopefully they'll get you taken care of and get your health insurance started. If you have a pending claim, so if you same type of situation, but now for retirement, if you just get fired or get mad at your boss and then you quit, you want your retirement benefits to start immediately. Same type of situation. You go ahead and file online, but with the low staffing, it's going to take forever to get your stuff done, possibly. And same types of situation. You contact Social Security, you contact your politician and say, hey, I need my check. I just lost my job. It's unplanned. I need my first Social Security check immediately. But remember, anytime Social Security pays you, if you file for benefits starting in April, so your month of entitlement is April, then remember, you get your first check in May. So the Social Security always pays 1 month in arrears. So the April check comes in May, and it depends on your date of birth. So for the first 10 days of the month, you'll get your check on the second Wednesday of the month. Second 10 days, you'll get it on the third Wednesday of the month. The last part of the month, if that's your birth date, you get it on the fourth Wednesday of the month. So, okay. So keep this video, reference it in case you ever have an emergency, your family, anybody. That way, if you know anybody having this type of situation now, make sure you share this video with them. And hopefully they can get the service they need and they paid for. All those decades you pay into FICA, it includes help when you need help. But unfortunately, politicians are, not doing what they're supposed to do. All right, let's get into some questions here. And again, questions, the Q&A is sponsored by Medicare, Chapter Medicare. 64 on SSDI. If I try to go back to work, self-employment, could that trigger a review and kick me off SSDI? It really depends on your work, on how much you're going to make. But for the first 9 months, it doesn't. Remember, you have that trial work period where the first 9 months you can make $1 billion a month, and it doesn't affect because Social Security, Congress has decided if you're on disability, we want you to go back to work. So they give you all kinds of incentives. Hey, for the first 9 months, you can see if you can go back to work. And if you can go back to work, awesome. Then, then we'll kick you off disability. But remember, you have that trial work period. You can work as much as you want. And then after that, you have a 36-month called the extended period of eligibility. I've done a bunch of videos on that, where anytime you go over the substantial gainful activity, which for this year is 1,600 or so, then they might stop your check for that. But and with self-employment, it's not gross income, it's net income from business, net income. But there's also a little bit different thing, because sometimes when, you're self-employed, You could be working 80 hours a week and still not make any income because you're putting back into the business or something like that. So there is Social Security kind of uses a different formula where you work certain amount of hours. But yeah, you can see all the gory details in my videos I did on working on Social Security, and I'm putting together a website that kind of calculates that for you. So, Nona Donna, how is it you don't know if you're divorced? Oh, okay, so it looks like someone else is answering someone else's question. And Naomi says, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Yes, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mary, thank you for what you do. You're welcome. Because of you, I finally got onto Social Security and found my records. It was a pain, though. Now I have to do the save for my husband. Yes, so you go on. This is what I'm recommending here: is going on to going on to SSA.gov, going to mysocialsecurity.gov, your account there, print off everything, and that way, if something happens, the computer system really goes down, then you've got a backup hard copy of your earnings record, how much your benefit amount is, and everything. So, and you say, "Oh, that won't happen." Well, guess what? It happened in Japan. It happened a few years ago, more than a few years ago, and they lost 50 million records when they switched from one computer system to the other. It took them 10 years to recreate those records. Prime Minister lost his job and everything. So the whole uproar was them trying to give us older people heart failure. It didn't work. Thank you for sharing all this information about this. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, probably the video I was talking about I did yesterday on this whole thing about you have to go down to the local Social Security office, and people thought everybody had to go down there, and now they've said, oh, never mind, none of that. We're not going to do anything because we had a fix all the time, but we decided we wanted to freak everybody out. So yeah, what the heck is going on with these people? And people on my comments said, Ed, why don't you volunteer for Doge? Shut up and volunteer. It's like, I've done that about 100 times. I've sent emails, and yeah, they don't want to talk to me. So I guess old Marine Corps sergeant, I guess I'm too in their face. So SSA tells me that I cannot collect Social Security back to my original request by phone in May 2010 because they have no record of a signed submitted application by phone in May 2010. Yeah, that one's going to be a tough one. It's called protective filing. And I mean, it has happened. I've had people, I had this homeless individual that went into an office 3 years prior, and he wasn't helped out. He had some mental issues, and they didn't take care of him. He came into our office. We got him figured out and said, wait a second, you went into the office 3 years ago. And we got him 3 years of back pay. So he has since passed away, but yeah, at least he had some money at the end there. So yeah, it is possible, but there has to be some type of protective filing that you actually contacted. They have some type of record there. And going back to 2010, yeah, that's going to be a tough one. Yes. So let's see here. Okay, that's the 5-month waiting period. I already answered that one. Sue, turning 65 soon. I have good health insurance through spouse's job. If facing surgery, is it smart to take out Part B on top of existing coverage instead of waiving it, even more expensive? It really depends on your health insurance from your husband's job. So because you have health insurance from current work, even though it's your spouse, so it can be your work or your spouse's work, doesn't matter. And I assume your husband employer has 20 or more employees, has to have that. But yeah, it really depends on that health insurance, if it's any good. If it ain't, then yeah, it might be a good idea to go ahead and, get Part A, Part B on top of that. And maybe, a Medicare supplement or something like that, an N or a G or something. So yeah, it really depends on your particular health insurance. And then, then it's going to be the whole, whenever you do that, even if it's a good idea, anticipate a little bit of nightmare, because when insurance companies, they find out you have other health insurance, then they try to play, ping pong with you, and they say, well, the other company is supposed to pay this part, and you're always stuck in the middle. So first payer, second payer, but usually they work it out after battling each other. I plan to file for retirement benefits starting in May. I worked in January, February 2025, and this income will count as my top 35 years. Will the benefit amount I receive for June include the 2025 income? No. Well, yes, but not until next year. So it won't. Once your 2025 is done, Then in 2026, they will look at 2025 and it's 1-year high, 35 years. Yes, it will increase your benefit amount. They'll throw out a low one and stick in the new one. Sherry, I have been on disability since 2002 for mental illness. I got Medicare in 2004. I have not been to a psych ward for 3 years, but I do see a psychiatrist still, and I'm on still meds, unable to. And it looks like don't have a follow up on that one. So yeah, if you have Medicare, so she was on SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, and when you're on SSDI, you get Medicare after 2 years. So if you're 35 years old, you're on it, that means you get it at 37. So you get it at 2 years. But because you're receiving Medicare under the age of 65, in most states, all you can get is a Medicare Advantage plan. Some states you can get a Medicare supplement. Sometimes they charge you more. But yeah, it's most states, all you get is a Medicare Advantage, which is far better than having just Part A and Part B alone. So, hey, you have Medicare, not sure what else you have, but yeah, use it. You paid for it. I mean, that's the thing about all of this. People ask me all the time, Medicare Advantage, those are zero premium plans. How can they be zero premium? Well, because you already paid for them. All those decades you paid into FICA. FICA includes Social Security and Medicare. So the FICA you paid into it, that's where Medicare Advantage plans get that money to give you all that dental, vision, and hearing. You already paid for it. So because you already paid for it, use it. All right. I'm 62 and getting widows, and you can reach out to Chapter there and they can see what's available in your area. And the reason my son and I chose to partner with Chapter to have them help y'all is because their advisors are awesome and they really really work through the process with you in terms of finding the best plan for you. But just as important, they've got this member success team that after they sign you up, after they enroll you in a plan, I need a new doctor. Can you help me find it? Sure. I've got this prior authorization thing that they denied. Can you help me walk through that? Hey, I got this weird bill from whatever. Can you explain that to me? And that's, not many places provide that out there. So that's one of the reasons my son and I chose them. I'm 62 and getting widow's pay. It's only pay I've got. Do I need to file taxes on that? Yeah, I don't do taxes. But I think in my, I still have it in my YouTube description. You go to my YouTube description, I think I still have the IRS tool that you can click on, and it takes you to the IRS website, and you answer 4, 5, 6 questions, and it'll tell you whether you even have to file, your, income tax. That's for federal. So sometimes people, I don't have to do federal, but they still have to do state. So that's a whole different issue. I'm 65 and on Medicare. Can my 14-year-old son get Medicare too? No, unless disabled on SSDI, and that would be very, very unusual unless, son's a child actor and worked and paid into Social Security. Medicaid from the state, yes, possibly. The Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, Marketplace Insurance, whatever you call it, yes. CHIP, the Children's Health Insurance Program from the state, yes. But remember, so that's for the health insurance part. Hopefully, Greek Stallion is your name. Hopefully, because you're 65, are you already receiving money? You're on Medicare, but are you already receiving retirement benefits or survivor benefits or whatever the case may be? If so, then your child is entitled to benefits too. So if you have a son under the age of 18 and any parent is receiving benefits from Social Security, that child might be eligible for benefits on your record up until they're 18 years old, or unless they became disabled before the age of 22. So I called Social Security toll-free number and said I got an overpayment. Within 2 minutes, somebody took my call. Oh, great. Awesome. The woman got right on it and said I hadn't got an overpayment. Thank you. Oh, awesome. Good deal. All right. Good. Yeah, there's a lot of those going out right now because, it's our favorite time of the year, tax season. And, once all the tax type stuff comes in, what you made last year, then that gets routed to the Social Security Administration, and then the Social Security Administration looks at it and says, hey, this person was receiving early retirement and they should have stayed under 23,400 or whatever the case, or this person is receiving disability and they work too much. And so that's when the overpayment letters start going out, is the first part of the year. And so a lot of people get those overpayment letters. I talked about the Social Security letters, and was it about 2 or 3 days ago. So if you get one of those letters, make sure you watch that video, and it explains all of the tips, tricks, and secrets. Maria, thanks for clarifying the internet first time denial myth. Yes, but it did take my daughter 7 years to get approved, but judge only gave her 2 years of back pay. Yeah. That's the tragedy of it. Yeah, it does take forever. People are approved every single day. One of the reasons that myth exists is because I always hate to talk bad about lawyers because they're so litigious. But lawyers, they said, hey, you need to hire us to help you with your disability because all these people are denied the first time, and if you use a lawyer, you're 3 times have a higher chance of getting approved. Well, they're playing with the numbers. There are people that get denied. I've had people come into the office and they said, I want to file for disability. I'm saying, okay, what's your disability? I'm pregnant. I'm like, yeah, pregnancy does not last 12 months or longer. So for Social Security disability, your disability has to last for 12 months or longer. It doesn't have to have lasted for 12 months. So a lot of people are missing that. So I hear people all the time saying, yeah, next month I'll be able to file for disability because my disability I've had it for 11 months, and next month I'll be able to file. No. It has to last 12 months going forward. So if you just have a terrible car accident yesterday and that disability is going to last 12 months or longer, then file. But pregnancies, except in the state of Florida, perhaps, they don't last 12 months. But the person says, I don't care what you say, I want to file. And then the Social Security employees, that's not their job to stop it at that. So they file and they deny it. So lawyers use that as, the denial. And lawyers are also choosy on who they will take. So if you call them up and say, hey, I'm pregnant, they say, well, bye. They don't take it. But if someone calls up and like the young lady there and says, hey, I've got cancer or something, they take it. The lawyers take it. So they're selective in their cases. So of course they have a higher approval rate because they're selective. But even then, yeah, the whole thing takes too long. You file the new claim. That's an initial. Then if you're denied, you have to go for the reconsideration, and that takes another. When I was taking claims, I told everybody at that time, we used to tell them at 3 to 6 months, you'll get a decision. Up until a few weeks ago, it was 6 to 9 months because Social Security is at a 50-year low in terms of staffing. Now it's, all bets are off, unfortunately. So it's, reach out to your politicians. It's their fault. 60-year-old disabled. I also got SSI last month. They stopped my check. I owe $9,000. Only have $1,000 in the bank. It was unintentional mistake because of my disability and losing my mom who helped me. So happens. Yeah, unfortunately. So 2 things. So you only got $1,000 in the bank. You need to file a waiver. So it's an SSA 632. And if you're not able to file it, fill it out or something like that, go down to the local Social Security office, wait in line and say, hey, I need to file a waiver, an SSA 632, but, my mom used to help me out with everything. She's not here anymore. Can you help me out? And in my office, we always help people out like that. And I understand offices are understaffed, but they should help you out. That's their job, to help you out. If they don't, then complain. Please complain. Then call your politician. So, but 2 things have to be met to get it waived, that $9,000 overpayment waived. It's not your fault, and you don't have the ability to repay. So the not your fault thing, your SSI, your mother take care of it. So I would definitely make that argument. And then if you only got $1,000 in the bank, you've got no other income, what they're doing is they're saying, okay, can you pay anything? $9,000, $50 a month, $100 a month, $10 a month. If you're able to pay something, they'll, take something rather than nothing. But if you just can't, I would go in your particular case, unless you've got a whole bunch of, other money or something like that, but all if you got is 1,000. Yeah, do the 632, say, hey, the whole thing is complicated. I didn't understand this, that, and the other. My mother helped me, and so it wasn't my fault. I just don't have the ability to repay it, even at $10 a month. If I paid $10 a month, that's going to cut off, my electricity and less food for that month or whatever the case may be. And yeah, they might just go ahead and waive it. If they approve it, they'll waive it. And if they don't, then with everything on Social Security, you always have appeal rights. So when they, deny it the first time, then you can say, I want a personal conference. So then you talk to another person in that particular office. You have to schedule an appointment to talk to another person, and they will review it. And then if you disagree with that decision, then you can go to the administrative law judge, like that previous person that her daughter was approved after 7 years. The administrative law judge has a lot more latitude to kind of read between the lines and be, kind of follow the intent of the law rather than the letter of the law that what Social Security employees have to do. So I've seen a lot of things approved by the administrative law judge that really, it's like, wow. So, but yeah, hopefully, yeah. All right. Dar, can I get a short-term N or G to get me until October when I'm eligible for Advantage? I need something to cover the gap until then. Yeah, not sure. I think you wrote that opposite, where you can, maybe you're receiving disability benefits, you're prior to 65. And yeah, if you want to get a Medicare Advantage plan to tide you over until you're 65 when you don't have any more health underwriting for a Medicare supplement, I'm thinking that's what you meant, because it doesn't make sense to do it the opposite way. I can't think of a way it would make sense to. Anyway, so yes, yeah, call chapter and they'll ask you what state you're in, and you tell them what you're trying to accomplish, and they should be able to help you out. Okay, all right, and I already answered that one. Lynn, I am on disability and paid for Plan B in addition to private insurance. Now they are telling me there is a 236-month penalty at 1% per month. Can you explain the recourse? So 1% per month. So that's a plan. That's a Part D penalty. 1% per month is what you're penalized when you don't sign up for Part D, as in David, the drug plan, when you're supposed to. Part B, that's 10% for every 12 months you didn't sign up. So it couldn't be, that. So they're saying that you did not have creditable coverage when you turned 65 at that time. So you probably private insurance. So you probably signed up for a Medicare supplement plan, a Plan N or a Plan G or Plan F or whatever the case may be. And you made the mistake a lot of people do, is that they refuse Part D, the prescription drug plan, at 65. And that's a mistake. If you have a Medicare Advantage plan, most of the Medicare Advantage plans have Part D bundled in them. But if you have a Medicare supplement plan, an N, G, or F, you have to enroll in a Part D plan separately. And what happens a lot of times is the agent, if you have a good agent helping you, sign up, they say, hey, you also need to sign up for a prescription drug plan. And then people say, I don't take any drugs. And the agent says, okay, well, bye then, because they don't make any money on it. So, or, $10 or something like that to go through all that stuff. And so they're just lazy and they don't tell you. They're supposed to say, yes, I understand you don't take any prescriptions now, but you have to sign up for it, or you're going to be penalized 1% for every, for every month you don't have it. So let's find you the cheapest plan, or maybe we can find a plan that's $0 a month or $10 a month. And that way you don't get penalized in the future. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't do that. And that's one of the reasons, again, we chose chapter. Is it true we have to go to X to see any important messages and information? I did my best to cancel X when Musk took it over. Also, I can't remember my ID and password. Yeah, there was a regional commissioner out of the Midwest that said they got a notification that everybody has to do stuff through X, and which is a giant conflict of interest, isn't it? But then the Social Security Administration came out on official SSA.gov and said no, those reports are incorrect. But it's funny, prior to that message that saying no, that's all BS, they didn't have a whole bunch of announcements in the official press release SSA.gov. They were making a bunch of announcements through X. So I think they were caught their we caught them again with their hand in the cookie jar. Yeah. Good afternoon. My full retirement age was approved for X survivor benefits in January 25. No problem with getting my checks direct deposit. All right, good deal. Awesome. Ex-survivor benefit. So you're receiving survivor benefits on an ex-spouse at your full retirement age. Good deal. Good deal. We like to hear sometimes even with the low resources and low staffing and no support from politicians, Social Security employees are still doing their best. Okay, all right. We'll skip over that one. I'm afraid over the so-called Trojan horse with the phone calls. I have ID me, no problems. What has really happened? Did they traumatize us? Please use the Trojan horse program. Yeah, they. This is the video I did earlier today. It was cut up video from another one, but I think it was important that the whole kind of scare thing of telling people they have to go into the office and stuff, and all the while they supposedly had a solution there. I still think it was they just made a dumb mistake. And you make a dumb mistake, own up to it. They say, oh yeah, it was a dumb mistake, doing this, when we had a solution all the time, which I don't think they had a solution, but they just wouldn't recognize that they made a dumb mistake. Yeah. Lynn, not until your full retirement is okay. Somebody's answering somebody else's question. I wouldn't get any help from senators, Congress people in my state. They want to get rid of Social Security. Yeah. But they even though they want to get rid of it, they want to keep your vote. So all politics are local. So you reach out to your particular senator's representative and say, hey, here's the deal. And what are you doing? Remember, election day comes soon. I know you want to get rid of it, but you also don't want to get rid of my vote. Someone is unable to log in as well. It's telling me to allow them to share my information, and I'm afraid to agree. That's the new system they started about a year ago. They've been working on it for several years to get into my Social Security and set up an account. It's a good system. It's annoying as hell. I agree. But the reason it's annoying is because they're trying to protect the information from someone else going in there and pretending to be IBP Precious Journeying Through My 60s. Long title there. So it takes a while to get in there, but I think it's worth it. So it's good security measures. Lynn, the age isn't 65 anymore. It's 65 for Medicare, but it's 66 for retirement or you lose benefits. So someone was mentioned, when they switched the full retirement age from 65, now it's 67, they didn't switch, Medicare. In my humble opinion, I think people should get Medicare when they start their Social Security benefits. So if you start your Social Security benefits at 62, I think Medicare should start at 62. If you start your survivor benefits at 60, I think your Medicare should start at 60. And I think original Medicare should have dental, vision, and hearing already in there. But once I'm elected dictator for the day, I will get that done. Right after the cure for male pattern baldness. Sorry, I have my priorities. I'm trying to load from Apple App Search at my Social Security. I'm on SSDI, and I can't figure out which of the apps to load. There are far too many, so you have a way to know exact. Yeah, I don't. I don't think I would just go right into regular Social Security, into SSA.gov, right into because I'm not sure where you're looking, and I'm afraid you might get something strange there. I don't think my Social Security has, and I know Medicare's got an app, but unless this is a third party, my Social Security account type stuff, I would just go right into SSA.gov, and I wouldn't mess around with any apps or anything like that. There was a post on SSA Facebook today. Last one before that was April 5th. So now they are posting on Facebook again. Okay, so oh, thank you very much, Gail. $1.99. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you for the support. How to check the math on retirement benefit number. Ice Rock, you got cameras in my office here, my little studio thingy. I am working on that right now, on doing a calculation where you put in all your earnings and it automatically indexes it for the wage index. It does the average index monthly earnings and all that. And yeah, so hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'm run into a few little formatting errors, but hopefully, yeah, that'll be out soon. I know a senior who didn't get a single check until after she applied. Yeah, you have to apply for benefits. Yeah. Ed, I fought for SSDI for 4.5 years. They said they would approve me as long as is there a follow-up on that? Yeah, I agree. It takes way too long. Way too long. 6 to 9 months for the initial, another 6 to 9 months for the reconsideration, a year or two for so it's crazy. I contacted Social Security because about 12 years of earnings were missing from back in 1997. You're right. They wanted all the W-2s prior to 1997. Yes, this is why, particularly now, we're finishing up our tax season. Yay. And everybody please, your relatives, your nieces, your brothers and sisters and children and everybody, little old lady down the street, whoever, young people too. Tell them, okay, did you finish the final step of tax season? Oh, what final step? Getting money? Paying money? No. After you do everything, go into SSA.gov, set up a My Social Security account, go into your My Social Security account and confirm your earnings for last year made it to Social Security. Because if not, then you're going to be like Serenity there and trying to rebuild that, years later. And it's very, very difficult. It's so much easier to do it right then when you've got everything fresh. That's what, they used to send out the statement every year. Long time ago, used to send out the statement every year that says, hey, we've got a recording that you earned, $50,000 last year. And then, people used to get that fixed, but they switched to the electronic system. So you have to actually go in there and check. Let's see here. SSDI claimed I had an overpayment because I was eligible for SSI and SSDI. I followed instructions as to spending money. Last hearing 2023 on waiver request, no contact since. Did I win? Last hearing 2023. Wow. So yeah, you should have definitely, it's 2025. You should have definitely gotten your hearing, unless somewhere it fell between the cracks. So when you're eligible for SSI and SSDI, what happens is quite often is, if they're waiting for you to get approved, sometimes they'll give you kind of SSI, and then when you get approved for SSDI, they offset it. But probably in your case, they didn't offset it correctly, and you did everything you were supposed to, but they didn't offset it correctly, and therefore you're getting that overpayment. Yeah, the last hearing was 2023. You should have gotten something by now. Once you have the hearing, the judge has to write up the order, and then they send it to Social Security. And usually, I would reach out to Social Security and find out what happened there. If you're not paying the overpayment, even then the overpayment might be sitting there. So I would call Social Security and find out what happened with it. And if you want to sleep better at night, I would tell them, if they say, oh yeah, no, it was taken care of, everything is good, you have zero overpayment, and you're like, oh, okay, great. Can I get that in writing, please? And they can, it's hard for them to send you something that says it doesn't exist, that you don't have an overpayment, but they can do it. They can do a manual little thing that says you no longer have an overpayment. And that way you can keep it in your file. And that way, in case it ever comes back later. Eunice, I am 68 and my father died when I was 7. Me and my little sister received survivor benefits. We both received a Social Security check for benefits that were miscalculated 50 years later. Yeah, that happens. There's a bill in Congress to try to stop that. It's called the 10-year. So any type of overpayments like that of 10 years, those are. So I think I'm reading you right. So you received benefits when you were young, and now decades and decades later, you file for benefits, and they say, "Hey, by the way, we overpaid you $5,000 30, 40, 50 years ago. So you need to pay us that back." Yes, it does happen because that overpayment always stays on the record. So whoever comes back decades later and files for benefits, then that overpayment follows you around. But those get waived. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a good conscience and equity. So yeah, if they're wanting you to repay that, file a SSA 632 or a SSA 561, a request for reconsideration, and saying, hey, I wasn't the representative payee. This was decades ago. Usually those are wiped out. So yeah, let us know how that turns out. Karen, I couldn't find your video on working on Social Security. I want to know if a person has a business and is on Social Security, what happens? You mentioned this. Yeah, I think it might be in my live section. I've got like 1,000 videos. Yeah, Karen, I agree. It's kind of, I'm doing so many videos. That's why I'm doing the website, to make it a little bit easier. But yeah, so for self-employment, net income is important, but it's also amount of work that you do. And whether you're on, Social Security disability or early retirement or whatever the case may be, it's like 45 hours of, if you work that many hours doing whatever business you have, and then they take that based on, okay, if you had hired someone in the marketplace, just someone out on the street to do what you're doing, how much would you have to pay them? And then they multiply the 45 hours times that amount. So yeah, it's kind of complicated. Chapter Medicare is totally awesome. Thank you for sharing. All right, Julie, I appreciate it. Thank you. Good deal. Thank you for letting me know that. Yeah, I like to keep up on them, but yeah, they're doing an awesome job. My earnings records shows 0 for tax years 2023 and 2024. Should I be concerned about 2023 showing 0? I have no overpayments. Yeah, 2024 should show up here pretty soon, but 2023, yeah, that one should already show up. So if you actually earned money, if you were a 1099 and you earned money, but you didn't file your taxes based on that 1099, which a lot of people don't, they forget, oh, well, do I have to? Yeah. But yeah, if you got regular W-2 wages, then you need to go down to Social Security and say, hey, 2023 is incorrect. I did pay. Here's my tax returns. Here's my W-2 or whatever. And what happens is probably somewhere along the lines, they mistyped your Social Security number. You did, or your accountant did, or the IRS or Social Security, whoever, it doesn't matter. But your benefits, that amount is in what's called the suspense file. So it's just sitting out there, and you go down there and say, hey, in 2023, I was working for this company, the same company I worked for in 2022 and 2024. And they'll look at the 2022, they'll find the EIN, the employer identification number of that employer, and they'll look at all the wages there, and they'll say, oh, here it is. Oh, okay. Looks like someone, transcribed the numbers 1-2 instead of 2-1. And they'll pull it down, stick it in your record, and easy, easy, easy. So because you're doing it, soon, then it's easy. But yeah, if you would have found this 20 years later, then yeah, it'd be more difficult. So I applied for my survivor benefits and was interviewed August 2024. Was told that my payment will begin September. Still no payment. Will I be getting a back pay when I finally get my benefit? Yeah, yes, you will get a back pay. If you're entitled to benefits starting August, then you're going to get your August check, September, October, November. But that is not right at all. That doesn't happen unless something's messed up. So I would reach out to whatever office or the if you don't have the number to the local office, call the 800 number, and they'll be able to look in there and see whether what's called the MVR, whether the payment record is set up there. But yeah, no, something is wrong. Something is definitely wrong there. But once they fix it, yes, you will get your back pay. Yes. My mother's already 82, and I still get the representative letter to report how spending was done. I thought after a certain age, I no longer had to report the spending. No, yeah, you get those always. So, but it's easy, your relative and stuff. And so, unless someone says anything and says, hey, you're using that money to gamble or, whatever, then, you know, Social Security don't have time to kind of review those a lot. So, yeah, you just fill it out. Says, you know, roof over their head, food, and that's it. You return it and forget about it. Takes a couple minutes, once a year. Oh, Ed, I fought SSDI for 4.5 years. Okay, here's the full question. Finally, they said they would approve me as long as I didn't ask for the back pay. Was that legal? No. I mean, you can ask whatever you want. So yeah. Yeah, there are cases like that where the judge, I assume you're doing 4.5 years, so that had to be the administrative law judge. So your options are to file another appeal. You were approved, and now you go through, that you use that as a decision letter. It says, okay, I got my benefits, I got my money, I'm good. But you have to be cautioned that you're reopening. So if you say, okay, I got my money and, I'm happy there, but I lost, 3.5 years of benefits. So I want you to reconsider those 3.5 years of benefits. And I don't want that judge to do it. I want another judge. And maybe it doesn't happen often, but maybe the new judge says, why did this other judge even approve you the first time? And maybe they might reopen your case and deny it. So there is that risk. You can definitely take it. That is your right to request an appeal all the way up to the Supreme Court. Yeah, that is the risk you're taking for them to reopen it. So, Sherry, I am on regular Medicare and have Medicaid as secondary. I can't take advantage because my psychiatrist is not on their list. Good. I am afraid that because of Elon Musk that I will lose it because it's only mental disability. So good. You evaluated all your options and you said, okay, I have Medicare and I have Medicaid, and I'm sure you got all those Facebook stuff where it's like, hey, if you do a Medicare Advantage dual eligible plan, you'll get an extra $200, $300, $400 a month and get all these extra, bells and whistles and ice cream and free unicorns and stuff like that. Those plans do exist, not the free unicorns, but the grocery money and stuff like that. But you always do it based on the most important thing is your health. So, why get, a $200 a month grocery card if it's gonna, be an issue with your health? So it sounds like you did the right thing. It's like, yeah, I'd like to get that extra whatever, but my psychiatrist, I really like my psychiatrist and I want to keep him, and he doesn't take Medicare, or he or she doesn't take Medicare Advantage. They only take Medicaid. And so, yeah, you're good. But in terms of changes, I'm going to keep watching everything on disability. That's going to be one of the big targets is people receiving disability benefits. There is a social media, a lot of people out there in social media, don't understand, Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. And there were some out there recently that said there's 2.6 million audits. They're trying to kick people off Social Security happening this year. And there's 2.6 million audits happening every year for decades. Those are what they're talking about is SSI, people on supplemental security income. And as part of, integrity and taking care of the trust fund, or not, actually SSI is actually regular taxation, not the trust fund. But yeah, they're called RZs, limited issues, that Social Security offices do those every single year. Because it's a welfare-based program, they want to make sure you didn't get a lot of money, you didn't remarry a millionaire and stuff like that. So yeah, those 2.6 million audits have been happening for decades and decades and decades. My office did hundreds and hundreds of thousands of them. So, but in terms of Medicaid, Yeah, that's another issue that the current budget is kind of targeting that without targeting it. So, but I'm going to keep an eye on that and call your politicians and tell them, impress upon them the importance of, all of the people that are receiving Medicaid, the elderly, disabled, children. you know Diana, my husband is retired now, but not together. He wants to get back together. Oh, I'm on SSI. Will that check get canceled? Um, um, it- SSI, Supplemental Security Income, the welfare-based program. Anytime you have a living arrangement, like I was just talking about, if you have a living arrangement, then yes, it could very well. If it depends on how much your husband makes, any resources, if y'all, get married and start living together and stuff like that, then yes, it could very well affect your SSI. If you're receiving if you don't mean SSI, but you mean just regular retirement benefits or SSDI, then no, it has no effect on it whatsoever. But since you wrote SSI, that's how I answered it. All right, we are over an hour, and Tony became a member, a gold member. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it. Yeah, so you can become a member there if you want. Support the channel. We appreciate it. Barbara, thank you. $1.99. You guys are awesome. Let's see we'll just do one more. I turned 65 and I'm being charged Part B, but I have private. Oh, okay. Already. How can I cancel the Part B? I'm in California. It doesn't matter what state you are. If you have private insurance from current work, yours or your spouse's 20 or more employees, then you just contact Social Security and say, hey, I don't want Part B. And then 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years later when you stop receiving health insurance from current work, then you go ahead and sign up for Part B, and there's no penalty whatsoever. So, all right, over an hour, and that'll be it for tonight. Y'all take care. Have